got so far? All right, very good. Moving on. Class K, we just kind of covered that. And moving on into the next objective is portable extinguishers. So we talked about the classes and the ratings. Let's look at what they do. Number one is, bottom line is they're going to put fire out one way or the other. So we know the triangle of fire, it's going to take away heat, fuel, oxygen. If that doesn't work, it's going to break up the chemical chain reaction. Okay, so smothering, cooling, chemical flame inhibition, or saponification, which is a form of smothering. But again, first four letters, S-O-A-P, soapy, we'll see it later, make a little bit more sense. It's just a term we came up with, and obviously there's some chemists out there that looked this up or invented this, and there it is. I have no other use for it other than this class. But you might see it on a state test, and I don't get the same test. It's in their test bank, so you may get that on there and know what it means. It means what the wet chemical agent does when you put it on a deep fat fryer fire. The resultant extinguishing agent is a result of saponification. All right, so again, water cools carbon dioxide, takes away the oxygen. Carbon dioxide is a heavier than air gas. It pushes oxygen out of the way, doesn't break up for a long time, stays as carbon dioxide, and it fills in at the low levels. Because it's heavier, it pushes the oxygen or air up. Foam, oxygen depletion, because it creates that new result. It's a mixture that is lighter than flammable liquid. So it sits on top, not allowing the air or oxygen to get to the flames. So primary method is oxygen on that one. Clean agents. So it used to be called halons, short for halogenated hydrocarbons, and then we call them clean extinguishing agents, or CEAs, or halon alternatives. All mean the same thing. It means a very advanced, cool way to put out a fire that is not IDLH, but it is harmful. So we need to be very careful with it. Use SCBA if you're going to use it. But it breaks up the chemical chain reaction. Dry chemical also breaks up the chemical chain reaction. And again, the most common dry chemical out there, because it's cheap and plentiful, is sodium bicarbonate. What do the TV commercials tell you to do if you have a grease fire? Baking soda. Okay, which is sodium bicarbonate, right? All right, so same thing. So you can take it right from you can take that little yellow Arm & Hammer box right from your cupboard and put it on that grease fire if you were cooking French fries, and it will put it out. Okay, only baking soda. I can't tell you how many times, oh, I threw flour on it. Why would you throw flour on it? Well, it looks like baking soda. Why do I put water in my gas tank? It looks like gas. Okay, you got to be smarter than that. All right. Wet chemical is, again, saponification, takes away the oxygen. That's the new stuff in Class K. And then dry powder for the Class D forms that shell, which excludes oxygen. Okay. And then the secondary method is listed on the right. All right. Characteristic of portable fire extinguishers, pump tank water. So we have this thing that we carry on our back. Used to be metal. You strapped it on just like an SCBA. Put 5 gallons of water in it. So how much does it weigh, roughly?
40 pounds.
How much is a gallon of water? 8 times 5? 40. So what is it? Over 40 pounds on your back. And you're going to go into the woods and put out that little fire over there, the bush, the tree fort, whatever happens to be burning back there. You're going to put one on your partner's going to put one, you got 10 gallons of water between the two of you. If it's a very long, you can't get the truck back there, you can't make the impossible hose lay to go back 3,000 feet into the woods, you're going to put those on your back. So that's what that is. They're basically super soakers, 5-gallon super soakers. You take the wand, put it in your hand, and you do a pump action, similar to a super soaker. Okay, this allows the water in the one-way valve to fill up this chamber, and then when you push back on it, it has to go up in that hole. There. Stored pressure water is going to be the 2.5-gallon water extinguisher on the back of the truck. AFFF is going to look a lot like the 2.5-gallon water in that it is a chrome, it is polished. There's going to be a difference though, because to make finished foam, we need foam concentrate, water, and air. So we've got to put air in somewhere. So the nozzle will look a little bit differently on the foam than water, and I'll show you some of those later. Your halons, okay, remember halons, halogenated hydrocarbons, those are, forget about the numbers, 12, 11, 13, 01, 24, 02s, all of those don't really matter much. Because halons, what's the problem with halons? Why don't we use it anymore? Atmosphere messes up the ozone layer. Okay, so we don't want, so we make halons, they're man-made. That's what that 1, 12, 11, 13, 01, 24, all that's the recipe on how to make it. How many atoms of fluorine, bromine, chlorine, and what's the other one that's escaping my mind? I don't know. But that's the recipe to make it. It's man-made. Why would I want to make something that when heated up destroys the ozone layer? Okay, because you know that ozone is a problem and global warming and all those kinds of things, blah, 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 blah. So we outlawed halons in 1987. We said, don't use them anymore, asterisk, except for essential government purposes. So your government, we trust them to make good decisions, right? So they can use it for what they think is important. But the rest of us, we can't use it anymore, we can't buy it anymore, it's gone, it's not available, they can't make it anymore. So they have made something that puts out the fire the same way that halons do, only we call it something different, okay, because halon's a bad word now. Halon alternatives were what we first called them, because they're the alternative to halon, but that halon, oh, halon's a bad word, you shouldn't even be saying that anymore. So then someone coined the phrase clean extinguishing agent, or CEA, so you might hear it called that as well. And then carbon dioxide. Okay, so carbon dioxides, we'll take a look at what they look like in a minute. Dry chems, BC, many different types of BC, and then there's the ABC, multi-purpose dry chem. And then just different wheeled units is what these are talking about, and the wet chemical. Water-type extinguishers must be protected against freezing if exposed to temperatures lower than 40 degrees. Protection options include adding antifreeze to the water or storing them in warm areas. So 40 degrees is the number, and I know that we all know that water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But to give ourselves a margin of safety, 40 is our number. So this sprinkler system above our head, does it have antifreeze in it? No, why not? Because we don't keep our classroom above 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. We don't keep the apparatus bay colder than 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So this can be a wet system without any additives. But what if this were a warehouse and it was storing ice cream to go to Walmart and Kmart, gosh, aging myself there, Walmart and Kroger and all of those other stores? Would we have to have antifreeze in it? Yep, because we normally have to keep that below freezing. We expect it to be below freezing, so we have to put a antifreeze in the line. Or another option is store the water in warm areas, which we'll talk about when we get to chapter 22 down the road. There's another option than antifreeze in the system. All right. Portable fire extinguisher mechanisms, manual pump. The only time you're going to see a manual pump is on that Class A extinguisher that you put here, okay? It can either be that metal tank on your back, or they do now make them, they take up less room in the compartments, they make them like a vest. They fit just like a vest. You put the water in the back, it bloats out like you're a pregnant yak, and then you go over to where you need to go, and then you operate it from there. Again, they're both 40 pounds of water you wear on your back. One just keeps it a little bit higher on your back, but it takes up more room on the truck. So many of us have gone to the more compact, cheaper vest that we wear. All right, so that's going to be your manual pump. You could also get another one, not many of them left out there anymore, but does anyone ever spray for bugs around your house where you put the can down and then you pump the top and you spray a little bit here and you spray a little bit there, you spray a little bit over here? Okay, that's another option. For 5 gallons of water, carry it, set it down, pump up pressure, and then squirt a little here, squirt a little there, squirt a little there. Okay, good, you don't see too many of those anymore. Stored pressure. Stored pressure is very common. It is the most common, probably out there. All of your dry chemicals are stored pressure. So basically, what if this were filled with baking soda and this were on fire, how does this get to here? There's got to be a way to get it there, right? Okay, manually, the baking soda thin from your cupboard, or with some oomph behind it. So we add some pressure to this, and we spread it in that direction. So air pressure gets added here, and it goes from there. Now, air pressure has a moisture in it, so it won't be just regular air. It'll be a dry nitrogen, probably. But all of that is the kick. It's just the oomph. It's just the thing that gets it from A to B. Okay, so that's what stored pressure is. Cartridge pressure is that picture in your homework that had the cartridge on the side. We don't do it too much anymore, but you'll still see them out there. They have the cartridge so the people can open them up. There's no pressure. They can inspect it. They can close it back up, et cetera, et cetera. More disadvantages than advantages, which is why you don't see too much of them anymore. But the cartridge is another one. And the other one that it doesn't mention is internal pressure. Carbon dioxide. To get it inside of a fire extinguisher, we have to pressurize it. And it gets cold when we do that. So we need temperature and pressure to get carbon dioxide into the extinguisher. We are going to take it from a gas where it wants to be, and we are going to force it into a liquid. Okay? And so it's going to be liquid CO2 that's in there. Okay? You get more bang for your buck. So in that extinguisher, and I'm making this number up, so don't use this. I used to have it in my mind. I don't need it there. This extinguisher will put out 40 cubic feet of extinguishing gas. Okay? Whereas, where am I going to put 40 cubic feet of extinguishing agent on my fire truck? I need 2 whole compartments, 3 whole compartments for that. So it makes sense to liquefy it under temperature and pressure. So that's liquid CO2. It does not want to be a liquid, it wants to be a gas. So the CO2 is going to be a heavy extinguisher with big, thick walls, and we don't need a gauge, because all it needs is an opening, and it will turn into a gas. That's internal pressure. It wants to be a gas. All you got to do is push the valve down, and that's what it wants to do. It will turn into a gas right before your very eyes. Okay, now it is changing states from liquid to gas, so it will come out in like a cloud form. It's an exothermic reaction, so it will give off frosting around the handle, and little pieces of frost will come out and stuff like that. It's got no cooling effect. That's not what we're doing. We're putting out carbon dioxide, which is a heavier than air gas, which is smothering. How effective is CO2 on that garbage can? If we were to catch fire right now, and I put CO2 in that garbage can, and I spray it for 15 seconds over the top of that, remember it's a heavier than air gas. Will it be able to put out all the paper and stuff like that in there probably? Think so? All right. What if we take that garbage can and put it outside, and I do the exact same thing? Will it be able enough to put that out? Depends. If it's windy, what's that gas going to do? It's going to go away with the wind. So it's going to, and again, and how fast is the wind? That's how fast it goes away. Or is it calm? So it may put it out the same way it did in here, in a calm wind, high humidity conditions. Or if it's a windy day, so there's your problem with gases, is they're subject to winds. All right, common portable extinguishers, your pump type water, we talked about. Stored pressure, we talked about that. Water, dry chemicals, halons. Aqueous film forming foam, we talked about those extinguishers. You will have an AFFF extinguisher on your fire engine. You'll have some type of a Class B fire extinguishing agent, because again, you're going to go on 1 million what in your career? Car fires, okay? And majority of them are not going to be leaking gas, but some will. And are you going to be able to put that gas out that's burning with your water hose line? Never, ever, ever. So we need this option. And it's again, it's not something that we're going to analyze what's coming out of the underneath of the car. We're going to try water, because it's going to work 99.9% of the times. The couple times it doesn't work in your career, you can shut the line down, realize you got something different. Hey, water's not putting this fire out. Okay, it must be a gas leak somewhere. Then you're going to grab a foam extinguisher and you're going to take your measures from there. CO2, gas, heavier than air gas. This places oxygen, dry powder for Class D fires. Your stored pressure water, your wet chemical stored pressure, so that's gonna be some modification for your DFAT fryers. Clean agent, halon alternatives, so BC. The bigger the extinguisher, you might get a very small numerical A in there, but BC always. Dry chemical can be either BC or ABC. If you are suggesting a extinguisher for your grandparents, you would suggest that they get a ABC, your neighbor, ABC. What should I get for my camper? What should I get for my cabin up north? Anything, the answer is ABC. Okay, what should I get for my boat? Still ABC. Okay. People don't know a lot about them. ABC, it's gonna be the right one 99.999% of the times. Okay, so can't go wrong with ABC.
So why do we have, like two different, so why do we just have like a BC and just like a AS on the fire truck instead of just like two ABCs?
Money. Okay. BCs are much more economical than ABC. Cost money. Okay. And you can get your BCs, you can go with ordinary baking soda, which is a BC rating, and that's the cheapest extinguishing agent of the dry chemical family. And then you can get some that specifically focus on flammable liquid fires, which are going to be not sodium bicarbonate, they're going to be potassium bicarbonate or potassium chloride, are the other ones that are better at putting out flammable liquids than ordinary baking soda. So, when would you use that? Not your house, not my house, not my garage, not your garage. But if you worked at Marathon Oil, at a refinery, you would probably have one of those agents that are better at putting out flammable liquid fires, because that's what they're going to have the majority of. Big flammable liquid fires, not us. ABC isn't as good as putting out flammable liquid fires. It gets a B rating, so we'll put out some, but if you're going to do Marathon Refinery, you're going to want to get one of those specialist dry packs. Yeah. And so Plum Tech Water, so there's a guy with, well, as I said, it's a combination. This is not the metal container on his back, and it's not the vest that goes all the way around. But this is a folding little plastic piece that you put on your back and holds 5 gallons of water. Can be used for small Class A fires, worn on the back. Manually operated slide pump. So again, you take that wand in your hand, pull out, fills up the chamber with water, push back, and goes out. Some of the nozzles will have a tiny little piece on the end that screws in. Okay, one of them's a crappy fog strain, the other one's a crappy straight strain. Okay, so you got your choice of which one you want to use. Neither are good. You just have to work it. You know, you'll probably have a broom with you. So again, it's you make the best with what you have. Neither are perfect. All right, so here's a stored pressure water extinguisher. Okay, right picture from your book. What do you see here? Pick the graphs, right? Okay, the A is open. What do you see through the B and the C? The slashes. So the international picture symbol for a Class A extinguisher, that's what you're going to see. And I can't see it, but in fine print somewhere you see a triangle. It says water on the side here, it says water on the side here. APW here, pressurized water, but I don't see the capital letter A in the triangle anywhere on this one. It might be there, I just can't see it. So, water extinguisher. I could hit plus from here with a water pressure extinguisher. It comes out with oomph behind it, and this one I can use water pressure because I don't care about the moisture content because it's water, okay, like I do on the dry chems, which will cause it to decompose. We use these for squirt guns in the summer. Okay, this is how we play. We take our water extinguishers, we fill them up with 2.5 gallons of water. There's a little spot on the back where you put your air chuck that you fill the tires up with, that you keep your brakes. You just fill it up until the needle goes into the charged area, and then we use them for extinguishers. It's fun. So this one, just like that, again, you can see you can squirt 40 feet with that straight stream. So I could hit him from here to there. Okay. Do I want to? Sometimes no. what if I get right up to that garbage can, that's burning, do I want to hit that with a powerful straight stream? Because it's gonna send off embers and ashes and stuff like that. So you can put a finger or thumb over the nozzle to fan it out, just like you do when you wash your car. You use a garden hose at home, put your finger or thumb over it to hit the roof and stuff like that. Same thing with these, won't hurt you at all. If you have your gear with you, of course, put your gloved hand, finger or thumb over it. But if you don't, it's not gonna hurt to put your finger or thumb over it. It's not like it's gonna wear out your fingerprints or anything. All right? So lots of options for these, very easy to maintain, simple, we do them here. We don't have to send them out anywhere, anything like that, other than the testing. It's a pressurized vessel, so it's subject to hydrostatic testing every so often. Store pressure water extinguishers function, store water and compressed air or nitrogen. You will not be using nitrogen for your water extinguishers because nitrogen costs money. Air is free from your station. So your gauge on the valve assembly displays the pressure level. Next Monday, we are going to be using a number of fire extinguishers, all of us will, and we'll also show you how to fill these up. So all of this will make a little bit more sense when you get your hands on it. Look at the gauge. Stored pressure forces water up the siphon tube and out the hose. So there's a tube at the bottom. We put air pressure in at the top, pushes down. Okay? Once you open up the valve, then I have a release point. So all of that pressure pushes the water up the siphon tube and out. Let's see if I have, I know I've got some extinguisher stuff in here. Let's see if I've got any water. No. Oh, cereal. This is not siphon tube for a water extinguisher. This is for dry chemical, but same concept. This goes in the top of the extinguisher, screws in here. This one, see that little bulb sticking up? I'll pass it around. So that's the valve. The valve is shaped like a valve on a car. I don't know what a valve on your car looks like anymore, but like the letter T around it. So that valve, upside down, the T is here, press down on it, it opens up, it allows it to pass by through here and out. If you let go, the pressure pushes the valve up. You are manually holding it down when you press down on this handle. This is the carrying handle, this is the activation lever. So carry it this way, don't press down until you're ready to use it. All right, so store pressure forces water up the siphon tube and out the hose. All right, some include Class A foam concentrate. All right, so Class A foam concentrate makes water work better, decreases the surface tension, allows it to penetrate better. But again, at a cost. Class A foam costs money. So we don't always just add Class A foam to water extinguishers. The valving may be different and stuff like that. So you'd have to check before you do that. But Class A foam costs money, and we really don't get charged for water use. Water mist. So again, this is the extinguisher I talked about. You'll almost never see. I'll show you pictures. It's deionized water. Okay, so it's a specialized water. You don't get deionized water out the faucet, out the tap, from the toilets, through the sink, through the washing machine. No, you have to purchase it. Like, I don't know if you've ever, who knows how to iron clothes? All right, what do you use for the steamer function? Water, right? What are you supposed to use? Distilled water. So you buy the gallon container and put distilled, we don't do it either. But if you read the directions, you're supposed to use distilled water. No one does it. Why? Because it costs more money and it's inconvenient, you have to store it, all those other things. So no one does. Water mist, you need deionized water, otherwise you don't get it. Deionization takes away the mineral content, which is the reason that water conducts electricity, is the mineral content in the water. So you have to buy water that's specially treated to deionize it or take out the mineral content. expensive, no one does it. If you're, any of you guys have departments, find one of these on your trucks, let me know, it'll be the first one in my career I've ever come across. The nozzle produces a fine spray, so again, another way to separate you from the fire is tiny drops of water, as opposed to a straight stream. Safety use on Class C fires, fine spray enhances the water cooling and soaking characters and reduces scattering of burning material, okay, all of that stuff. Let's take a look at some stuff. That is Google, alright, so that should be what I want. There. Alright, water mist. So, doesn't look all that different. That's not it. That's a water pressure extinguisher. These are dry chems. So really just these standout weird ones here, the blues and the whites, are the water mists here. Well, there's one that's red. There's a water mist. Says so right on there. That was nice. Easily labeled. But that's what they are. Look at them. I mean, say, holy moly, look at that. $341 for a fire extinguisher. Yeah, the 2.5 gallon water pressure is 200. Anyways, so that's what that was. Alright, so don't plan on seeing those. Wet chemical. Alright, so fire hooky, we're working at McDonald's. Okay, McDonald's has a deep fat fryer, right, for the french fries? Delicious. Alright, so, if there was a fire in that deep fat fryer, how can we put that fire out? Did they show you how to do this?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a little valve on the wall, you pull the handle on it.
Okay, so number one, manual activation. There is an activation button on a wall, might have a little pin over it or a cover over it, something, two-handed operation. I don't want it to be something where you can just bump into it like a light switch and accidentally dump this water mist extinguishing agent onto your deep fat fryer, and now you're out of business. You're not making french fries anymore, which is the main reason I go to McDonald's. All right, so there's one way to put out that fire.
Ours would auto-ignite at, or like auto go off at a certain temperature.
So there is a, I passed one out, I think. Forgot the name of it. A mechanism that holds the extinguishing agent back. They know how much deep fat frying oil is in there. This is how much extinguishing agent it takes to put out. At a certain temperature, that will release, and it will put all of the contents in the system onto, through the nozzles, onto that surface.
It could be the thing that's on like the fire doors that will automatically close.
Yeah, the heat sensing element. Fusible link. Yes, yes, yes. So, did I pass one out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that. That's all there is. If it gets up to that temperature, and we know what that temperature is, it's not all going to be the same, fusible links are different, but I want it to melt at the temperature that, not normal, that we're cooking french fries, because it gets hot. I want it to be at a malfunction level. So at that malfunction level, the fusible link goes and it goes off. What's your third way of putting that fire out?
That was the only two I knew of.
Okay, within 10 feet of the hazard, there should be a portable fire extinguisher rated for Class K. Okay, again, but do they tell him that? No, because that's not their main function. Make those damn fries, because Kirsty's going to be by here later on to get some. So that keeps us in business. But again, if it's not your main function, don't plan on getting a lot of extra training in fire safety. You're going to be the most knowledgeable person at your next place of work, let's get a job at the fire department, about fire extinguishers. You could put on a training class in a week on how to do this better than anyone else at your facility. All right, so this one, within 10 feet of the deep fat fryer, it looks a lot like a water pressure extinguisher, but we got a K here. Okay, so there's a big one. And we've got an A and a K here. Remember, the K is just that hand with the flames. So that's all that is. And it gets an A rating because it's water-based. But again, it isn't water that we're after. It's the wet chemical that we're after. So Class K fires, potassium-based, low pH agent that extinguishes by saponification. There's that word again. Makes that soapy mixture on the top. Carried on some apparatus. Do we have one on any of ours? On your truck? You seen one? You seen one? Or? I don't think it's on trucks yet. Could be. I mean, there's nothing that says we can't. What? Who said something?
We don't have one.
No? Okay. So here's the problem. If I wanted an extinguisher for Class K, and then another one for magnesium, and another one for titanium, and another one for zirconium, I've got to take other stuff off my truck. So here goes nozzles, here goes whizzer tools, here goes a reciprocating saw. I've only got so much room to put stuff, and I don't have unlimited space. So if you don't use it much, you're not going to have it on there. Okay? The codes require, if you have a Class K hazard, that you are able to put that fire out yourself, automatically, manually, or through an extinguisher. Same thing with combustible metals. We tell you the fire department cannot put this fire out. So it is up to you, if you have quantities of this material, that you have the correct extinguishing agent there, and that you let the fire department know what it is, where it is, and we'll take it from there. Because I've got nothing I can do. If they say that machine is burning and it's got titanium metal chips and titanium stock on it, I can't put that out. Now I can make sure it doesn't spread to the ceiling and the surrounding machines and other stuff like that, but I can't put that out. It's going to burn itself out. I can't put it out. All right, so compare this water extinguisher, okay, brushed aluminum, blah, 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 blah. You got all that. Okay, look at this nozzle. Okay, a long rubber hose with a tiny graduated plastic tip. And all that does is, when you make it smaller, it allows it to project further, right? But again, what's the missing ingredient for a foam extinguisher in this one? Foam concentrate, water, and air. Okay, so this one, see the big long plastic piece here? If you look at that plastic ring, it's got hood scoops in the back of it, air and trainers. So the air comes in there, the water passes through, Venturi effect, it pulls the air in, and it adds in air to the foam water solution and agitates it through the remainder of the extinguishing nozzle, and then finished foam comes out the end. Okay, so there's your difference on those extinguishers. If the nozzle looks funny like this, then take a look right there. You might see foam. Take a look at the rating. You'll see AB. A because it's got water in it, but don't use it for water unless you have to. Use it for B. That's what it's designed for. So it uses Class B fires, although it can't be used for A. That's good for CDK. That's good for fuel. Some manufacturers market atrial foam concentrates that produce on Class A fires. All right, so we'll wait to see on that one. I don't know of, I'm sure there are people who do. But AFFF stands for aqueous film forming foam. It's a mouthful. Say it fast 3 times. Connor? Say it fast 3 times. Aqueous film forming foam. Les? All right. Board. All right, nice. All right, so aqueous, water-based, film, it creates a film that sits on top of the flammable liquid, and it forms a foam mixture on top of that. So really it's a 2-part solution that comes out of it. The film, which allows it to ride almost an oily, think of it, an oily film, so it can ride across there, as opposed to plop, just sit there. If I took a handful of foam and threw it on that desk, it would sit on that desk. But if I had a film that's spread out, then this could apply itself by going over the length of the film. Okay, so again, old method of applying foam before we had AFFF was foam would come out your nozzle of an extinguisher or your hose, and it came out like the meringue on a lemon meringue pie. And you had to walk all the way around the burning fuel, all from multiple application points. And we would try to cover the whole thing with this stuff, because once you threw it on, wow, it sat there. Then AFFF changed all that. I can put out that same big fire from one application point because of the film that goes over and then the foam on top of that. So you no longer have to add it specifically to the spot. So, interesting. One of the really cool things about being in the fire service as long as I have is I have seen a lot of changes, and I think it's cool and exciting. Downside of that is obviously technologically I'm way behind all of you in a lot of the computer stuff. Alright, aqueous film forming foam extinguishers. Difference from stored pressure water. They take the tank contains a specified amount of concentrate, foam concentrate, mixed with water. So, do you add the water first and then the foam concentrate, or the foam concentrate and then the water?
Foam and water.
Did you say? Foam and water?
You do the water first, then the foam, because if you do the foam first, then the water will just kind of stir all of, make it not foam.
Okay. Water first, then foam concentrate. Because if you take, so think of it as dish soap. If I take dish soap and put it in the bottom, and then I add water, it's gonna start bubbling. Okay, if you do the water first, and then you pour in the concentrate, you eliminate the bubble. Alright. AFFF has an air aspirating foam nozzle, so that's what we call the one with the good scoops. Oh,